welcome to another video on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. This will be the final season review for the year before we start putting on our makeup, putting on our wigs, putting on our costumes, and turning ourselves into clowns for silly season as we start talking about trade rumors, as we start talking about who heard what, as we start going into complete what ifs and madness around what's going to happen next year, and we start building some more hope for season 2025. I did a bit of a season review just before the final series, so at the intention of not repeating myself, I want to do this one a little bit more effectively and zoom out a bit more high level. Season ended. The final was the final. We have spoken about the first 2/3 of the season and the final third of the season and how that's what ultimately tore us apart, and what some of us thought, or what I thought was a form slump, ended up being an actual capitulation and really a waste of such a promising start to a season. I think it was more than a start. I think it was when we were over halfway, we were 2/3 of the way in. 11-4 will now become the new reference point for what used to be 8-2 in 2022. And I don't know about you, but for me, it just feels like you just cop it. Oh, well, we were inconsistent. We weren't durable. Like, oh, well, yeah. And maybe though that is the remnants of a little bit more emotion that's building on the inside. But I don't really know what the alternative is in that regard, but it just leaves me, and it leaves us wondering, like, what happened? Was it really just durability, just injury? Is that really it? Is it just Andrew Russell and that's it? We have a new fitness boss now, and the boys are going to be fitter, therefore we're going to be better. I don't know. I see a bit more. I see a number of things that happened this year, and I was really steadfast on waiting until we had all the information, because that's something I learned in 2023. Wait until you have all the information before you cast your judgment. And sometimes you can see it before it happens. Last year we thought we saw it before it happened, but it didn't. And then this year I held true to that. I probably saw it and realized it a lot later than everyone else. Hawthorn was the game where I realized, oh my God, we've actually let it slip. And then the rest of the season was just hope that something magical could happen. But there are a number of things that I have questions about. Matter of fact, there's 5 of them in particular. I saw a dysfunctional team by the end. And I'm left asking the question of, was there an absence of trust? Were people unwilling to be vulnerable with one another? And did that lead to a lack of openness and a lack of honesty? Were people going into their shells and getting protective? And that's everyone in the department and the club. So was there an absence of trust? The connection piece is the new buzzword. The connection piece was given to us when Vossi came around, and I think when Sayers was elevated to president, and when Cook came around, and it was all about connection, staying connected with one another. We were building a high performance environment. We haven't had a reference to the high performance environment now for a little while. So I saw a lack of trust. Now, whether that was with team selection or trust in roles, coaches trusting players, players trusting players, players trusting coaches, that's one question. The second one I have about this team and about this club is there a fear of conflict? Are we unwilling to engage in passionate debate? Because if we are unwilling to engage in passionate debate, that will stifle creativity. That will stifle problem solving. Your fan base, there is an understanding that your fan base is going to be passionate after a loss. But to single out what you're looking for from a fan base and hold it against them in certain aspects, but not reward the behaviors that you value when they are there, is an inconsistency. And maybe sometimes the truth hurts, and we're all humans, and everyone who works in a position is a human and therefore gets sensitive to certain things. And maybe the sensitivity was to the truth. But more than that, with the fan base within the four walls, is there a fear of conflict? Are they open enough and willing enough? And I want to preface this by saying, I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they are having, extremely passionate conversations with one another on the inside, and it's just not doing anything. But I do have the question, I think we do have a fear of conflict generally as a football club, and we don't embrace that passionate discourse. Maybe it's because we want to, continue to stay level-headed as opposed to being too volatile. So nonetheless, I have the question, is there a fear of conflict? Sadly, my next question is, do we have a lack of commitment? And that one stings to ask, because I see a number of players who are clearly committed and diligent every week. And it shows up in their performance, in their consistency, and it shows up in their ability to withstand challenges. If I look at the very top, Patrick Cripps, and you see his consistency in performance, and even when he's getting tagged and it's not his day, you sort of see the difference between his best and his worst. I know Sam Walsh wasn't at his very best towards the end, but the reality was he had back surgery and it interrupted, pre-season and the like, and you could still see he was able to find a way to play bulk games this year and show up. Jacob Wiedering had the injury in the pre-season, ended up being an All-Australian after, interrupted pre-season. And there are certain players for sure who I can't question their commitment, but there are certain players that I see as well, and I question their attitude. It's there in months, and then other months it's not. And that's human behavior. Most humans are not consistent all year round. But when we're talking about a high performance environment that we've been sold, that's what we're committed to, I dare say what the athletes on the inside and the standard that they're held to, I dare say that would be greater than the regular human being who is not a professional athlete. So I sadly have a question about the full commitment of the entire group. I see patches. And going back to the Andrew Russell thing, I'm all for holding account to leaders of teams, and ultimately the buck stops with the head of the high performance. I pray that doesn't give the playing group an out, because their preparation away from the football club, I believe, is going to be the difference between whether or not we're going to be a durable team or not next year. Maybe the program was completely botched and it was negligent and it hurt bodies. But I think there needs to be a level of space for responsibility on the individuals who not only have a program to fulfill, but have obligations outside of the football club, to ensure that when they come into the football club, they perform at their highest level week in, week out. I think we can all understand 1 or 2 off weeks. Everyone has a bad day, but a bad 2 months, So I unfortunately ask, is there a lack of commitment? Without the healthy conflict and the passionate debate, are the team members, are they fully committed to decisions? Does that lead to a sense of ambiguity? And does that lead to a lack of buy-in? Because that team that played in that final did not buy in. We've seen this team buy into something. We've seen it. And that was not it. They did not buy in to whatever the plan was. And they didn't buy into it fully for a while. And that's what I see. The next question I have. Is there an avoidance of accountability? Are the team members holding each other accountable for their behaviors? Maybe that overlaps with the fear of conflict. And if they are, does that undermine the progress and the effectiveness of the entire program? Do people's feelings get hurt when they're held to account? Are they all holding each other to account? Did they let a few things slip when 11-4 happened? Was this all happening? Was the accountability and all of these beautiful things, was it happening early in the season and then not happening after 11-4? Or was it not happening the whole time and we were just getting away with it because we had individuals playing at a really high level and getting us through? I don't know. But I do have a question around the avoidance of accountability. There's that. The final one is the inattention to the results. Did the team focus on individual goals rather than the collective results? And did that prevent them from achieving the overall objectives? Top 4 was the overall objective to give us the best chance to contend for a premiership, home finals, etc. Did our focus, were there a few individuals, whether it be in the team that plays the game, whether that be in the team off the field, Sayers and Cook went away for a period of time, were there competing individual interests that wanted to be seen in that time? Is there a little look into the future, knowing that Sayers and Cook won't be there after next season? And, you know, we're living in a corporate world and this is a corporate organization. And when you are in the corporate world, you understand that everyone's vying to climb up the corporate ladder. And is that hurting us? That's the reality of the industry. So as much as we want to talk about, you know, the People's Club and the Regular Joe's Club and Blue Collar Club, you know, there's what you want and then there's reality. So were these individual interests on the field, off the field, getting in the way of the collective goal and everyone buying into the collective? It's a question. I don't know the answer, but it's a question. It's a number of questions that I have. And I have a real sense of fear now and a real sense of concern, having collected all the information in the entirety of the season, that we just became 2021 Carlton again. 2020 Carlton again. The youngsters that we are talking about today and how we got to give them a go and bring in new energy into the team are the same youngsters that we were talking about 4 years ago. They just had different names. They had similar traits and attributes and they just had different names. The individuals who we are highlighting and their stories and their triumphs and all of that, it's the same thing, it's the same individuals, just with a different name. It's the same thing. The club's a business. It's a big business. I understand that. And I think the realization that we may not win a premiership and we'd still be profitable hits and stings. And maybe this is just part of the journey. Now, 2 final series in a row, you know, zooming out, like, okay, you need to be playing finals football to give yourself the best chance. You need to be playing finals football to learn the harsh finals lessons. Was that a harsh finals lesson? Yes, it was. Next year, if we play in an elimination final and lose by a point, that'll also be a harsh lesson. But yeah, left now in a position where I'm unsure what's real and what's not real. And maybe that's just the way it's going to be. We look over our shoulders at other clubs and, we want the consistency and the professionalism of the Geelong Football Club. We want the innovative spirit and happy nature of the Hawthorn Footy Club. And, we want the tactical genius of some of these other clubs. But, mate, we're not other clubs. This is us. This is the Carlton Football Club, because everything that we want from the other teams and what we see over the fence, there's always something that those teams wish they had that we have. We have one of the biggest competitive advantages in the competition, and that is the fan base. We are yet to fully really understand, I believe, how to communicate to it, engage with it. We know how to profit from it. And maybe that's all we need from it, because it's big business. And so as much as I'm desperate for this one day to experience the flag, I'm left with this, understanding through this journey that it started because it was documenting every week and every moment until they won the premiership. And, sometimes you figure things out because you start doing something and you figure out the real purpose behind something. And now I've just kind of learnt to enjoy and embrace the journey, enjoy and embrace the moments, the connections, the people, the community for a long period of time. There was a gaping hole in the feeling of connection to the football club. And I think somewhere along the line, maybe when we left Princess Park and all of those things, I think that was lost. I feel that's back. I feel that social club connection. Where can we hang out and talk amongst ourselves? I think we've discovered that, not just with this Blue Abroad YouTube channel, but all the content creators. And I mean, if you zoom out to the content creator ecosystem, it's been built. You've got a different style of message for a different type of supporter. And I think every single type of supporter is represented throughout the entire ecosystem. And so that's great. It's a dangerous game to be linking your happiness with the outcome. It is, because the outcome's never guaranteed. It's excruciatingly hard to win a premiership. And then, having spoken to those who've lived through a premiership, because I haven't, even when you win one, yeah, it feels good, but it's never enough. You want another one, because the first one is the best day of your life, and then you want anything to feel that again. So there is an understanding of that. I don't truly understand those words. Those are words that have been passed on to me as lessons, and I'm regurgitating them, but I don't truly understand what that feels like and to experience that. So that's the 2024 review. Overall, it was a waste of an opportunity. I don't understand how it can be viewed as anything else. Now, there's going to be another opportunity next year, and this one was just a waste. It wasn't like we were battling all year with results. We were in a really strong position. And so that's the waste. Sometimes you go through a season and it's just awful from start to finish, and you never really feel like you got any traction. I think 2021 was a bit of that for me. Never really felt like we had a lot of traction. But yeah, this year this year just rocked the foundations. I guess I learned that I can't fully trust the club just yet. I thought I could. Belief turned to trust for the first time in a long time. Yeah, so I've got some maturity to come. Sometimes what you want, I think David Teague said this one time, you can try over hard. Sometimes you can want something too much, that you let it get in the way of what the reality of your situation is. And so that definitely rings true. And we're going to go again. It's going to sting. And, we just hope for better days. We're going to now turn into silly season, off season, rumors, etc. Looking forward to that. Channel doesn't stop. There are a number of you that tune in just for the season, and then we get you back during preseason. That's totally fine. We get a number of you who tune in throughout the year. That's fine. Everything that happens relating to the Carlton Football Club will be covered all the way through. So rest assured, we're not going anywhere. I am looking forward to having less stress after losses. I'm looking forward to finding a little bit more sanity. I am great. Having said everything in the questions that I asked, it needs to be made really clear, evidently. I am very grateful for the Carlton Football Club. And I think we all need to be grateful for the Carlton Football Club, because without it, where would all of this love go? And where would all of this passion go? The fact that we have something, an entity to care about, is really important. The fact that we have something, as someone who creates content, for a living, there is a respect and a gratitude towards the club at all times, because without it, I wouldn't be doing this. And I love doing this. And without it, we wouldn't be supporting this, and we love supporting this. So the questions are not to raise personal conflicts with people and the like. We just want to be better. And I think it's difficult being a fan at times, and it's also blissful. They say ignorance is bliss. It's probably a good thing that we don't know absolutely everything that's happening on the inside, because the club's run by humans. Humans are flawed. Therefore, the club is flawed. It's never going to be perfect, ever. And just because we look over the fence and we see a happy team at Hawthorn and we see a Geelong, that doesn't mean that there aren't imperfections. It doesn't mean that there aren't awful things happening and, tragedies and disappointing things and dysfunction happening. It's just really about limiting it. And I think the size of the club probably hurts that, because you can't hide a lot. It's too big. So I'm grateful for the club. There is an enormous amount of respect for the club and the monogram, and I just hope that everyone involved taps into that, gets better, but actually gets better and improves. Because it's really weird to be talking about habits at this point of the group's existence, because that would tell me that they just needed a shocking exit in 2022 to spur them on, and an awful start to 23 to spur them on for about 12 months. And then they need a new challenge. They need a new hole to be in, and they need motivation as opposed to discipline. So that's disappointing. But that's that. See you on the next video. It'll be probably about a player, a trade, etc. If you have any ideas as well for what you want to see in the off season, leave a comment below, and we'll go from there. Also, leave your summary, not so much of what happened in games, but what questions would you ask the club if you could? Leave a comment below, and we'll go from there. Go Blues.